Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode on the Cerebral Cricketer podcast. Today we're a very, very special guest on the show. So I'm joined by Mohammad Isam. He has been ESPNcricinfo's Bangladesh correspondent for over 13 years. So that's amazing efforts there. He's one of the most respected voices covering Bangladesh cricket. So thank you for coming on the show, Mohammad Isam.
Thank you for inviting me, Tanzim.
I'm good, thanks. Hope you're doing well. Are you in Dhaka right now?
Yeah, I'm in Dhaka. It's just the end of the Eid vacation. So yeah, settled here.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, how was Ramadan and Eid?
Yeah, typical. Lots of meeting up with friends and everything. But there's a lot of accidents happening in the country right now. So a little bit, uh, it's a bit sad, really. I mean, I think three or four major accidents have happened already. So it's a very somber sort of Eid for us this time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's tragic news, unfortunately, but hoping, yeah, best. I hope the families are suffering, get that retribution, and hopefully things get better for them as well. I really wanted to get you on, so I appreciate your time. I know that, for example, like I mentioned, you've covered Bangladesh cricket for a long time, and I've actually have a small story where I actually also had an interaction with you. I think this was on back in the day in banglacricket.com. It was the forum long, long
Ah,
time ago. So I used to
yeah,
be pretty active on it. I used to
right.
be active under the moniker Bengali Pagal. So I used to have an Imro K's DP. So everyone knew me as like the Imro K's fan. But I remember like because I was very young then. I was in high school actually. I was probably like 14 years of age, 13 years of age, pretty passionate Bangladeshi fan, but based in Australia. And then I'd see from time to time you'd be jumping on. So tell us a bit more about that because I know at that time there was a lot of I think players or coaching staff that would actually pop in and out of banglacricket.com as well.
Yeah, I mean, around that time, I think that was the only forum where Bangladesh cricket fans, or as you said, players and coaches could converge and have a discussion. And I think most of it was it was very it's instructional. It was quite healthy. I really enjoyed it back then, and I often think about it. I mean, I think about how we could have something like that back, or have something like that in this current climate of horrible experience online. I mean, wherever you go, there's terrible comments and all these bots and everything. So I really appreciated it. I mean, now that it's, I don't know whether it exists anymore or in any format, but it was excellent. I knew a few people from there, Zunaid Bhai, Rabiul Bhai. I sometimes work with Rabiul Bhai, who used to be one of those, I think he was a moderator there, or he owned it, or I don't remember, but Zunaid Bhai was one of them, one of the early ones. Really great to catch up with them often. They are the pioneers of Bangla Cricket Forum, and as I said, it was a very good platform. I mean, it was very healthy educational platform where you could actually understand a lot more about Bangladesh cricket than whatever the whatever is happening right now on on social media.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it was a really good hub to bring all the Bangladeshi fans together, especially from many Bangladeshi fans that live all around the world as well. So I remember connecting with so many people in America and other places as well, not just in Bangladesh, where they passionately talked about the intricacies of Bangladesh cricket, and that's what I guess kept me captivated. And this was even during a time before like social media was a big thing, like before I think like Facebook or Instagram, where we have like most of the conversations happen now, but back then in the forums I feel like people that were a bit more educated were on there because their sort of commentary had a lot more substance, maybe compared to now that we see on social media where it's just memes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a shame. I think it's like dead. I tried to log in actually in preparation for this episode, but I think it doesn't exist anymore, which is a shame. But yeah, definitely great memory. So that's why I just wanted to bring that up because that was my first encounter because it was very educational in that sense. So I mean, I wanted to also touch on your youth when it comes to your love or passion for cricket or Bangladesh cricket in particular. So what was life like for you growing up as a Bangladeshi child in relation to cricket?
Yeah, cricket was everything. Obviously, I grew up in a family of cricketers. I had a couple of cousins who played in the Dhaka Premier League. One of them almost played for Bangladesh a few times. His name is Atiyar Rahman. He's now residing in New York. I have another cousin who was a fast bowler. Atiyar Rahman was a wicketkeeper. His brother Mohammad Talha, he was a fast bowler who now lives in Sydney. He's played a bit of cricket in Australia. He's been living there for like 25 years. He played Dhaka Premier League for a long time. So seeing them growing up, and also that, I grew up in an area called Dhanmondi. It's on the central part of Dhaka, where cricket. I had a lot of friends who played cricket and would always idolize, all these cricketers in Bangladesh while growing up, and we were very closely following the Dhaka League, which was the entire cricketing circle in Dhaka. So growing up with these cousins, and also I had parents who were cricket mad, so that also you know gave me the inspiration to become a cricketer, which I did when I was 16 years old, and I started to play professional cricket around that time. The Dhaka League obviously is the place where you have to cut your teeth. So I've done the whole thing. Third division qualifying, third division, and then a long time playing the Dhaka First Division. One season of Dhaka Premier League, which is the highest level of Dhaka League here. And yeah, I mean, I played till I was 27, I think, 26 actually. So about 10 years I played in the Dhaka League, and then I switched to journalism. I was doing a bit of part-time journalism around 2006, and started to take it full time after I quit cricket around 2010. So a complete life of cricket, reading about cricket, watching cricket matches. VHS tapes would come from cousins who lived abroad, would bring, uh, maybe some World Series cricket, maybe some cricket from England. So because live sport wasn't that prevalent in that time in Bangladesh, so we had to wait for one of these channels. But I think around 93, 94, when the boom of cable TV came through India, that's when we started to get all these sports channels and live cricket and live sports. So yeah, I mean, as you were asking me, it's been a life of cricket all over. Lots of memories, good memories of playing with plenty of former cricketers also throughout my professional career. Some top class cricketers as well. So yeah, I mean, it's been a fulfilling journey just as a cricketer.
That's amazing. So that's a small world. So you have basically family in Sydney. Have you ever been here in Sydney in Australia?
No, I haven't been here. I do plan to visit them. I've got other friends and families who also play cricket in Sydney and Melbourne. But basically, I've been to New Zealand a couple of times with the Bangladesh team, traveling with them, covering them for Cricket Info, but not Australia yet.
I mean, hopefully, because Bangladesh are touring Australia in the next coming months in the Test series. So I'm actually trying to organize trips to in Darwin and I think it was Mackay. Hopefully that works out. But if the opportunity presents itself, we should definitely make the trip and then visit, swing by Sydney, because in Sydney, for the Bangladeshi community, it's massive, honestly. And on top of that, like the Bangladeshi cricket scene is huge in Sydney. Like there's so many leagues, like Bangladesh cricket leagues, like so many of them. I think it's like 20 teams as prize money. So yeah, definitely in Sydney, like there's a lot of Bangladesh cricket happening. So it should definitely get an opportunity and come down, inshallah.
Yeah, our mutual friend Tamid Islam, as you mentioned before we started, Tamid told me about the scene in Sydney. I've got a couple of friends who played in Melbourne, and I've got a friend who plays in Perth as well. So I've heard about these, but I didn't know that it was so many leagues in Sydney. That's good to know. And I think I had a friend who played in Sydney as well recently. He's a teacher. I think he lives in Brisbane or something. So yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of these connections, a lot of these friends who play, great cricket and club cricket in Australia. I'm sure it's a healthy atmosphere there to play cricket. It must be an exciting time.
Yeah, definitely it is. Like, because I've played for many years, and I mean, at the time when I played, I wasn't as good, but because I moved to Melbourne, and then because Melbourne's Bangladesh cricket scene is not as big as Sydney. Sydney is really like established and very popular, especially like Lakemba area. It's like all the Bangladeshis live. So it really, yeah, it should definitely get the opportunity, inshallah, to check it out, because definitely, it's the one thing I miss about Sydney, honestly, as well, is that kind of culture when it comes to Bangladesh cricket. So, also in terms of Dhaka League, you mentioned you played in the Dhaka League and in the highest league. What's your favorite memory when it comes to playing cricket at that level?
Well, there's plenty. I mean, for from my playing time, I played mostly in the second tier. It's the Dhaka First Division Cricket League. So I've had some good performances. But I think one of the greatest memories, obviously, when you bowl to Test cricketers, or foreign overseas cricketers. One memory that I often try to share with everyone from a playing perspective is when I got Mushfiq Rahim out first ball uh, many years ago. He had just come back from his debut test in England, I think, and we were playing a tournament called the Corporate League. It was it was like a professional league, but it was not represented by the clubs. It was the corporate houses in Bangladesh, like Grameen Phone and all. They participated in the tournament, and I played for one of those teams. And I remember getting him out first ball, LBW and BKSP, which was his home ground, and of course bowling to some foreign cricketers. Those were wonderful memories. I remember bowling to Shakib Al Hasan in one game, and seeing I mean hearing about him at that time. It was 2005 or 6 when before he had made his debut. Shared a bit of playing time with the likes of Tamim Iqbal as well, and I call a few of them my friends, the likes of Naeem Islam, who recently became a selector. We've played together. Rakibul Hassan used to be a pretty good batter back in the day. We played in the same team. So yeah, I mean, we never cracked the age group scene because it was so dominated by BKSP and certain coaches who had their favorites. But I mean, I was very happy playing the Dhaka League, which was the real sort of professional setup in Bangladesh, where you could test yourself against the best at any level.
That's a really fascinating insight. So I have a lot of questions. My first one would be like when you're bowling to the likes of Mushfiqa or Shakib, did you have a strategy in plan when you were bowling to them? Because if I recall, you're a left arm orthodox bowler, right? Is that correct?
Yes, I think they needed to have a strategy against me because I'm a left armer. But yeah, I mean, of course, when I bowled to Mushfiq, he was a Test cricketer. I clearly remember that I was, dreading getting hit for sixes all over the place. But then I got him out. LBW was trying to play forward, but it hit his front pad. And yeah, bowling to Shakib was eye opening. He was very good on the cut shot. So I was bowling with the new ball. He was playing that cut shot quite easily. I remember the umpire at that time telling me, "What are you doing here? He's a very good batter. Do you know him? He's the next Bangladesh captain." So we knew about him. We knew that this kid was coming up at that time. Mushfiq obviously was always such a prodigy, and Tamim. I think people like Tamim and Mushfiq, they had a bit of, they led the under 19 teams, or Tamim had his brother playing for Bangladesh, uncle playing for Bangladesh. So we knew about Tamim a little bit. We knew about Mushfiq, but Shakib, you know, apparently when Mushfiq and Shakib first took guard in BKSP, the coaches were like, "This is the guy. We need this guy." So you can actually, I mean, if you're a good, spotter of talent, it's not that difficult to, find such cricketers in amongst so many cricketers in Bangladesh. I mean, at that time it was such a boom with so many new cricketers coming up. So yeah, I mean, uh, I don't know whether I had a lot of strategy to bowl to Mushfiq or Shakib at that time, but I mean, I always planned against right-handers, batters, and because obviously the sort of league we played, we didn't have video footage, so you had to work from memory sometimes, or listen to the seniors, what sort of batter what sort of batter you have in front of you. So you take those tips and then try to, and for a left arm spinner, man, bowling to a right-hander is kind of easy. I shouldn't say that, but it still is easy. So you could just play around with them. I mean, if he didn't have a lot of pedigree, it was your day pretty much.
What you said reminded me. I was listening to a podcast. Moin Ali was talking about someone saying that when they watched Joe Root for the first time, and Joe Root was like, I think just when he was just started to play domestic cricket in England. He was really young at the time, and someone in the opposition team just saw him take his stand. And when his setup, even before the bowler bowled the ball, he's like, "This guy's something special." So it's funny that you said that. When it comes to Mushfiqur, someone just saw him took guard, and then saw that, oh wait, this is something special. I think there's something about that as a batsman. Before even they hit the ball, there's something about their aura, I don't know, at the crease or the way they set up is like something different to other players. So that just sort of reminded me of that part that Moin Ali told me about shared about Joe Root. And you said also previously that I think you played alongside Rakibul Hassan, who played for Bangladesh, was seen as a very elegant batsman. Naim Islam was known as well. Like him and Mahmudullah were very similar kind of starting out for the Bangladesh team, lower order batsman that bowled a bit as well. So he's been a stalwart in domestic cricket for a long time. And then you talked about Shakib and all of them. So who has been like maybe someone that's a lesser known player? Who do you feel like you've played alongside who really impressed you a lot that maybe didn't get the recognition they deserve?
That's a good question, actually. I think among all the players that I have seen firsthand as a cricketer, I think obviously Marshall Ayub comes to mind. He was a very good batter. He was maybe pigeonholed as a test batter at that time because of maybe how he batted well in first class cricket. He did have a great record in list A cricket as well. Around, I think he made his debut around 2013 and then never played again. And that was a huge miss. I think also the fact that Rakibul and Naeem and they all had small careers, that was also due to the fact that they couldn't. In Naeem's case, it was very weird because he scored 100. I think his last test innings was 100 or something. But then Shakib came back into the team, and that was it. He never made it to the test team. And many. There are many cricketers that I felt could have made it big. There were pretty good fast bowlers. Like I played with a guy called Shuhash. He came up with Shofiul in the same sort of talent hunt program. His name was Rashidur Rahman. Yeah, sorry, Shuhash was Shafiul. But yeah, there was a guy called Rashid who was a very good fast bowler. I've played with plenty of fast balls, but I've also played with cricketers who've made a lot out of, the, I mean, if you call talent, like Kamrul Islam Rabbi comes to mind. I think Rajin Saleh is another one who was very dedicated, very disciplined, but maybe didn't have a lot of God given talent, but he made the best of it. I've played with him in the Premier League. Also, of course, Mehrab Hossain Jr., who now lives in Canada. I think he's a Canadian, is in the Canadian police force. He was some. I think among all these cricketers, I would say that he was probably the one who, and Rakibul. These two were probably the ones who had shorter careers. And of course, I mentioned Marshall Ayub. So Marshall Ayub, Mehrab Hussain, and Rakibul Hassan. I think these three cricketers could have had longer careers, but this is just my opinion. It's. I mean, people will have other players that they think could have made bigger impact.
Yeah, I remember Marshall Ayub when he made his debut for Bangladesh. He played like I think two or three Test matches. He played this crazy season in domestic. He scored so many hundreds. I remember it was like some record that he broke as well. For I think it was like the most amount of hundreds in domestic cricket at that in that season. And then then he got into this Bangladesh team. I think he batted at three, if I remember, in home series, and then he just never got picked again. So yeah, I think it's unfortunate. Some players, you need a bit of luck to get a bit more time in international cricket, or it just depends, I guess. The selection or whatnot. So, and also Islam, he had a very unorthodox action as a pacer, and I remember I think it was in New Zealand. He was bowling on pacer pitches, pace friendly pitches, and then he was bowling to Kane Williamson, and Kane Williamson was I wouldn't say struggling, but had a bit difficult, bit of a challenge facing him because of that unorthodox action, the pace. And I think he played GSL and stuff like that, so he plays here and there, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely a pace talent that probably didn't get as much opportunity for Bangladesh as maybe he should have. So yeah, I don't know if there was anyone else that came to mind as well.
Um, I'll share a story with you, which is quite interesting. I went to New Zealand 2017, and we had we had a group of fast bowlers who were very new at that time. Taskin was leading that fast bowling group. Taskin himself was making his Test debut at that time, 2017. They scored a lot of runs, but they then lost that Test match, and then they lost the second Test match as well. This is 17. We go back in 19. So Shane Jurgensen is a friend who who was the New Zealand bowling coach, and he called me up one day and he said, "I want to give you a very interesting analysis of the Bangladesh team that the New Zealand team has." So I met him at this team hotel, I think in Wellington, and there were some of these fast bowlers were having coffee and all, and I don't remember who, but it was either Bolt or Trent Bolt or Tim Southey or someone was passing, and I said hello, and we just started to chat a little bit, and they asked me, "Where is Roy?" I said, "Which Roy?" So that fast bowler who came last time, who bowled very well, who made the ball move, and they were talking about Subhashish Roy. Again, I've played with him, but interestingly, he bowled. I think he bowled okay in that series, but New Zealand had marked him out, saying that he's gonna come back and he's gonna I mean, by their estimation, having toured New Zealand to 17 and then coming back in 19, he would have done better than any fast bowler. But our understanding of cricket is very different in Bangladesh. We know more than anyone else in the world. So we thought, let's ruin the guy's career. And that's what exactly happened. Subhashish Roy never played for Bangladesh, or never, I think, I think rather than saying never played for Bangladesh, my statement, Tanzim, would be his potential was never given the fulfillment. I think look at it. I mean, these are great fast bowlers who recognized him from a tour. They play a lot of cricket. Trent Bolt, Team Saudi, they remembered him. Their analysis was this guy is going to come back and this guy is going to bowl better than everyone. He was nowhere to be seen, I think. So this is the sort of waste of talent that we do in Bangladesh. I think we don't even. Just my understanding of the whole situation was that Bangladesh didn't analyze themselves enough. What New Zealand did at that time.
That's really interesting insights, and I appreciate you sharing that story. So, I think that's a good case study because before the show, I mentioned to you like the theme of the show is to kind of talk about Bangladesh cricket, the domestic structure, all that kind of stuff. So we can use Shubhashish Roy as a case study. And I do recall watching him and stuff like that, and even his domestic stats were pretty good. So, what do you feel? Because you mentioned that we didn't really select him in the next series, and even though Trent Bolt recognized that he is someone to watch out for, he wasn't there in that series, unfortunately. So, what do you think goes on behind the scenes that doesn't facilitate talent and nurture them and sort of invest in them?
Well, you want the wrong long answer or the short answer?
Both.
Uh, well, the short answer is we are a cricketing nation, but we don't. We're not a cricket focused nation. We are a very fame focused or media focused and a very, I would say, shallow cricketing nation. We don't go in depth. We don't have a lot of analysis going. We don't have a lot of ideas about even stats. Stats is just like the tip of the iceberg. That if you want to dig, you can keep digging and you can find a lot of things about a lot of players, not just opposition research. You can research on yourself to get the best out of what is the point of research in any walk of life, right? You don't do that. There's no, forget about research, there's no investigation, there's no scraping below that surface. So that's the first problem. I'm talking about thinking about cricket in Bangladesh. Number two, the infrastructure that is in Bangladesh, it cannot handle large volume. We don't have pitches, enough pitches. We don't have enough indoor facilities. We don't have enough cricket balls. We don't have. I know. I'm not talking about a poor country. A poor country is, in terms of cricket, it's a very rich country in terms of cricket. One of the richest cricket boards. A rich cricket board doesn't have enough cricket balls. I'm telling you because I know. By enough cricket balls, I mean for the whole country, not just for a Sakib or a Tamim. They can buy their own cricket balls, but you need to deliver to everyone in Bangladesh who has the hunger to bat for 3 hours in the nets. And now we come to that nets. The culture here is 10 minutes in the nets. What is a guy going to learn? A batter going to learn in 10 minutes in the nets? Nothing. Um, so even say a little kid who's got a bit of trepidation or a bit of fear about the hard ball, right, or the leather ball, to get over that, he will need an amount of time that no cricket academy in Bangladesh is ready to give. It's either sink or swim. Well, there was a time when we used to celebrate it, but uh, it's no longer something that is entertaining to me. It's no longer something that's interesting because it is possible to have a lot of resources, a lot of pitches, a lot of infrastructure for the amount, and this they waste the money in nothing. For nothing, they waste the money. So why talent doesn't develop in Bangladesh is mainly because we don't let it develop. There is enough space for it. I'll give you an example, and obviously we have to take two sides of these examples. About I think 12 or 13 years ago, I was in Bangalore for my. So I used to go to Bangalore a lot for the initial years in Cricinfo for some sort of training. We had to understand the website better, all these systems. So I would stay there for like a month sometimes. I remember one of my colleagues taking me to the Chinnaswamy Stadium, which used to house the National Cricket Academy of India. And I was just walking around. I saw Irfan Pathan having a knock. and like he's just playing against the machine. Someone was chucking the ball to him, or someone was bowling to him, and I think I saw him for like half an hour, and obviously he was batting for that half an hour. And then later also, when I came back again, I took a round around the whole stadium. The whole facility is beautiful. So I came back, and he's still batting. So at that time, India's NCA had plenty of pitches, right? I don't remember how many, but someone who was giving us the guide, he said that there's like at least one type of pitch, an Australian type of pitch, an English pitch. I mean, they try to imitate those pitches because when Indian players come here, they want to bat in certain conditions, certain pitches. Now they have one outside Bangalore, and I've just read about it. I think it has 36 different types of pitches, which gives you the conditions in India as well. So if you're playing in Mumbai, it's a red clay. If you're playing in Kolkata, it's a different sort of clay. They brought all of that to Bangalore to give batters that understanding. And also, just remember, if you have 36 pitches there and if you have 18 batters, it's good. They can keep batting. They can bat as long as they want. And if you have enough resources, you have enough cricket balls, you have enough bowling machines, enough bowlers. Bangladesh has enough bowlers. It doesn't have enough bowling machines. It doesn't have enough good quality cricket balls. Again, good quality cricket balls. You need to have bat. You need to save your bat as well. I mean, you're a cricketer, right? So you know that a poor cricket ball can damage your bat. So that also plays in the batter's mind. I'm going all out for you. Okay, so you said long answer. I'm giving you the long answer. These are the issues. We as a media, because I'm in the media, I'm not going to talk on behalf of players or anyone else. We spend way too much time covering the cricket board, the ins and out of the cricket board. We don't need to know so many things. I think yesterday or a couple of days ago, I saw that a board director has his quit as a board director, and one of the biggest newspapers in the country, the Daily Star, is covering it with a photo. I mean, the amount of time spent to do that news, I mean, that could have been spent or accumulating that time that they spent. Everyone, even me. I'm not saying that I don't do it. I spend a lot of time intrigue, finding about the board's intrigue and all. If I could spend some time focusing on a cricketer, championing a cricketer, or promoting someone or something in cricket, other than board politics, it might have helped the cricket because there's so much focus there. Uh, an umpire coming up or a coach coming up, um, they don't have a really bright future in Bangladesh because until you're a star or you do something really wrong, you cannot be in the media. And an umpire or a coach or a player, they need that media attention. So I feel extremely guilty that I have also contributed to this downfall of Bangladesh cricket, this star worshipping, this absolute mindlessness about cricket board intrigue, and spending so much time on it. I'm trying to wean myself out of it. It's difficult, but I think I'm lucky that I work for Cricinfo, where cricket matters more than all these topics. But to coming back to your question, Bangladesh cricket is absolutely it needs cricket. It needs the word cricket back in everyone's lips, and it needs cricketers to focus on cricket, the board to focus on cricket, nothing else, because that will, at the end of the day, that will bring you whatever money you are making in Bangladesh cricket board or out of Bangladesh cricket.
Those are really, really fascinating insights. There's a lot to touch there, so I made some notes here. The first one you mentioned quickly at the start was about the stats analysis, and that reminded me of when I remember Tony Iqbal in the news was talking about he was using stats analysis in a way where it wasn't done in domestic cricket, where he found out, I think this was in BPL, where he noticed that Saifuddin has a good record against Andre Russell, and then he used the analysis in a way where he utilized Saifuddin specifically when Andre Russell was facing. So I think stuff like that made me really surprised, because you'd think that Bangladesh cricket, or especially in the domestic setup, they're all over this kind of stats analysis because that's what you'd expect, around the world. So that made me very, I guess a bit disappointed in the sense that you'd expect Bangladesh cricket to be, on top of all that kind of stuff. So that was one point, and the other part you mentioned was more so the infrastructure, which is really interesting because you gave the example of in India, and they had different pitches and mimicking other pitches around the world, all that kind of stuff. I think, I mean, if you're talking about the age group cricket, like I can only speak, especially in the Australian setup, where in the Australian setup, there's a lot of obviously there's more Australian, born and bred kids that are, have their parents or have, older generation families within the setup when it comes to grade cricket or like different clubs within Sydney. And there is a sort of level where only certain, I guess, people that are maybe in private schools or are a bit more well off as a family, they can afford to take their kids to net sessions or practice, say, once a week, twice a week, to get technical coaching from the age of 6 or 7. So spending like $60 to $100 an hour for training a young kid is not cheap. For not every basically not every Australian family can afford that, right? So you've already sort of as a child, you're obviously ahead of the rest if you're able to afford that amount of training for your child from a young age. So I guess in the Bangladesh context you're mentioning, obviously it's not comparable because the living standards, all that kind of stuff. But in the Bangladeshi context, what you're mentioning is that because of the lack of infrastructure, the lack of facilities, kids don't have that opportunity to be training in those kind of, have the net practice or have like coaching from a young age in order to develop their cricket when it comes to strategically or psychologically or whatever it is. So I think that's also maybe something that Bangladesh cricket needs to invest in. But my question as well would be, because you mentioned a lot earlier as well in the earlier part of the episode about BKSP, right? So BKSP is like the hub of where I'd say most international cricketers have been brought from. So like Shakib, Mushfiq, I think even Naim Islam, Rakibul Hassan, like so many cricketers you can name, they've all come from BKSP. So it makes you wonder, like, and especially I guess if you extend out to under 19 cricket, we've seen so many players that are from under 19 cricket are in the national team, which is not as, I guess in Bangladesh we rely so much on our under 19 players compared to maybe other nations. Like you might even get in cases in Australia or New Zealand or England where players that don't necessarily play young age group cricket came from then played for national team. They played through club cricket systems, all that kind of stuff. So it seems like Bangladesh are very reliant maybe on BKSP, I might be wrong, and then on top of that under 19 cricket. So what's your take on that? And maybe can you share some light about like what BKSP is, and is that like a really big part of how we develop cricketers?
Well, BKSP is a semi-government institution. It's called Bangladesh Kriya Shikha Pratishthan. It means Bangladesh Sports Education Institute. It's funded by the Sports Ministry Party. I think also funded by the, if I'm not wrong, maybe one of the armed forces as well, or they have developed it. It was first based out of Dhaka in an area called Savar. It is a huge area, which not only is cricket, it promotes a lot of other sports. It backs a lot of other sports like football, athletics, and pretty much everything. Each of the major sports in this country. So BKSP was developed in the mid 80s, and obviously with so much funding there and with some very good coaches at that time, it slowly became very relevant to Bangladesh cricket. Over the years, you have to look at the historic context as well. When BCB started to develop their age group cricket, BKSP obviously was dominating the school cricket at that time. So school cricket domination means they had a lot of good young cricketers who would automatically make it to the Bangladesh under 19 or under 17 setup or under 15 setup. And at the same time, you had Dhaka producing a lot of cricketers. And then slowly, as the millennium turned, we had cricketers from other parts of the country. But BKSP became a very popular place for cricketers because young cricketers, because that was one way to get very good coaching with a lot of focus on discipline, on nutrition, on sports science, and then from there you can become a cricketer. So BKSP has produced not just cricketers; they have produced trainers as well. They've produced physios and all sorts of things. So it's a very good place. It used to be a very healthy place for production of cricketers in one place, but apparently it has scaled down, or it has become worse these days, or something that people have been telling me. I haven't been there for a while. I haven't heard about it that much. So and there's not a lot of turnout of cricketers from there apparently, but it is very important in Bangladesh's sporting context to have places like BKSP. There are now a few places that have been developed, which are trying to mimic what BKSP has done to have their own sort of hostels and residential facilities to go with their cricket coaching or any sort of coaching. They have also a number of branches of the BKSP in certain parts of the country as well, which has also developed a few cricketers. Now, the under 19 scene in Bangladesh, it's a robust program that the BCB runs in all 64 districts of the country. They do talent hunting, they do tournaments from under 13, 15, 17, oh, sorry, 14, 16, 18, so that they can catch cricketers who are at their peak for the under 19. But you raised the point very well, actually. In Australia, we don't see 10 cricketers from the under 19 team making it to the Australian team after 5 or 6 years. It doesn't happen. It's like more like an amateur, or you can say it's like like a scholarship program. I mean, that's what I heard in 2004 when I first saw the Australian team here for the under 19 World Cup when it was held in Bangladesh. Apparently, it was not a big deal for Australia not winning the under 19 World Cup. I think they won it one or two times. India takes it seriously, Pakistan takes it. I think one of the reasons why these countries, or what Bangladesh takes it seriously, is because India and Pakistan have taken it seriously. And as Muslims, I think we think that boys are at their physical peak or start to get to the peak very early. So 14, 16, 18, they start to get fast, they bowl fast, they bat well. And then and international cricket doesn't really run like that. You can have a good under 19 team, but then you have to translate it into a good international team or international cricketer. So Bangladesh, obviously, world champions of 2020, great team. Those cricketers are obviously backed fully by the cricket board, and some of them are from the BKSP, but many of them are now from other parts of the country who have come to Dhaka to develop their game and then become good cricketers like Tawhid Ridoy and a few others. But again, as I said, Bangladesh really wastes their opportunities and wastes their own resources. I mean, BKSP is such a beautiful, a beautiful place to train. They've got four cricket grounds in the. I'm talking about the one in Savar, which is close to Dhaka, about 40 kilometers from Dhaka. But as I said, BKSP is apparently falling in numbers or falling in quality, and the rest of the country, they have to catch up to BKSP's facilities. Now, it does affect cricket in Bangladesh. And there was a long time, in fact, till about 4 or 5 years ago, when all training used to take place, the BCB's trainings, all training camps used to take place in BKSP because it had all the facilities. So, I mean, Bangladesh's cricket is very much dependent on under 19 cricket, not maybe on BKSP, because now there's a lot of cricketers coming up, especially after the World Cup win. That's when everyone started to think that okay, we can again make it at the under 19 level, and then it can be a great platform for the international team. But that transition is very poor. The transition between those two levels really hold back Bangladesh cricket.
Yeah, like I've seen so many star standout Bangladeshi players. What springs to mind is I always use a comparison with my friends where when Anamol Haq was coming into the scene, he was like under 19 World Cup. It was in the same World Cup as Quinton de Kock. So if you compare them now, they're like worlds apart. But back then, Anamol Haq was seen as the young star that might be on the same level as Quinton de Kock, but it didn't really end up like that. So it makes you think like what went wrong between that period after under 19, that where it didn't really, we don't really have maybe the facilities in Bangladesh or the domestic structure to develop these players in a way that maybe in other countries like in South Africa or Australia or England have in making them world class players. So in terms of even in Dhaka, people say that all the talent, all the resources seem to be concentrated in Dhaka. So is that part of the problem where we're not spreading out resources around the country as well?
There's no resource in Dhaka as well. Dhaka, there's hardly any cricket grounds in Dhaka now. You can just count them now, especially in North Dhaka. There's like two or three proper cricket facilities. I'm not talking about just parks or grounds. That doesn't count. There's not enough. And when you go outside Dhaka, there's a lot of grounds where cricketers have to make do with very poor sort of surfaces to bat, not enough nets. And it's no one's fault that a kid from a rural area wants to come up to be a cricketer. The thing is, BCB should have certain benchmarks in all districts or divisions. Have a facility where not just 10 cricketers, maybe a whole bunch of cricketers can come. There are stadiums in Bangladesh, but I've heard so many stories, and I've experienced it myself, that stadiums are sometimes out of reach for local cricketers. Say the Chittagong Stadium, I don't know what they call it now, the one in Shagorika. Local cricketers, even first class cricketers, had to stand outside when there's a match coming up maybe 5 days later. They can't use that facility. Although Chittagong has a lot of net facilities inside that stadium and just outside in the premises. Same story everywhere. So as I said, I mean, we used to love the fact that, oh, Bangladesh cricket has come up despite the system. I think it's time that we stop romanticizing that part and try really look into that gory details of not having those facilities or that system not working. Maybe it's time that we look deeper into that. Why it doesn't it work?
And I've read newspaper articles where they talk about different teams even sharing the same ground. So is that still the case because of what you mentioned? Like the resources seem so little, even in domestic setup. Like they're sharing the same ground, which is very strange. Like we can't really imagine that, especially in Australia.
So the pinnacle of domestic cricket in Bangladesh is not the BPL; it's the Dhaka Premier League. Um, it has 12 teams. It pays the cricketers house rent, or it pays for him. It's his bread and butter. It's the main thing. That league has 12 teams. I think even a couple of years ago, and nothing has changed. Eight teams would train at the academy ground at Mirpur, 8 or 9 together, and the other three would train somewhere else. So if it's a Boshundhara own team, they would have their own ground. I remember, I think Gemcon had a team, they had their own ground in ULAB, the ULAB University ground. And maybe when Abhani was at its peak, they had their own ground. The others have to look for grounds, and then when BCB opened that academy ground for all the clubs, they would just all come over. So you'd have 6 clubs training together in one ground. These are the top clubs. Just forget about the others. Forget about 20, 40, 60 clubs from the lower divisions. You're talking about the best clubs. If the best clubs don't have a round the year facility, if the best clubs don't have any talent development, it's all that's where Bangladesh cricket really disappoints me.
And if a young player wanted to, try to get into the Taka Premier League, and there's all these other clubs, what pathway do they have? Do they have to just kind of, how do they join these clubs, and do they just have to train with those clubs in order to make a name for themselves? How does that pathway work?
Well, pathways are obviously very much dependent on the under 19 or the age group. Uh, Under 19 being the peak of that age group, it's like a pyramid. It's under 19 is on the top. You will have to go through the whole system, or at least try to go through that system, because otherwise clubs. I mean, there was a time when clubs used to go to these rural areas to find cricketers, club officials, but now they're getting either they're getting old, or they have replaced those guys don't exist anymore. So now you have clubs just relying on the under 19 system. They just go to the camp in BKSP or somewhere, just get players, or Rajshahi, where there's a Bangla track cricketer. We just get players from there. A cricketer has to go to some of these top academies. If he doesn't get to go to, if he doesn't make it through the under 19s or the age group system, and then those academies will try to push through coaches that I have a good player. One coach will tell the other coach. It's very much like a lottery. It still is. I mean, it was a lottery when I used to play cricket. It still is. It's very unfortunate that I cannot um, be very sure of a clear pathway for a cricketer. Say, and in Tanzim, it gets worse if you're from Dhaka. Nobody will believe that you want to be a cricketer, because Dhaka. I think after Taskin, we've not had a debut. I mean, Saif, yeah, for Saif was is a product of Dhaka cricket. So the problem is Saif, Taskin. Other than them, there are not many cricketers who are born inside Dhaka or brought up in Dhaka cricket. So it's clumsy. It's better if you come from outside now. It's better if you come from a rural area. People will take you more seriously.
And considering everything you've said, the lack of resources and the lottery aspect and all this kind of stuff, then it makes you think like, how can you really judge a player in the Bangladesh domestic setup, or even as a young cricketer? How can you really assess a player and judge them if they're playing on, really tough wickets, or wickets that don't help or aren't conducive to the development of batsmen or cricketers or players? So considering that and the structure not being ideal, like how do you even judge like a player to be good enough that you invest in them, if that makes sense? Because it seems like then only players that have access to maybe certain types of infrastructure or certain grounds or certain you know opportunities to in net sessions or whatever have the best opportunity. So therefore, it's probably for a certain elite class. Then is that would that be correct?
I wouldn't say elite class. I would say some. It's basically the haves and have-nots, in the sense that those who are haves, I'm talking about, they get to go to good academies, or they get to go to, they have found their way through the age group with their talent. I think there is meritocracy in Bangladesh cricket. There is definite meritocracy in Bangladesh cricket. There's always that, because it's a subcontinent, chacha, mama, and these things exist, but not to that extent. I think it's now 90 to 10%. 90% is meritocracy. But the question you asked, I've seen it firsthand. A BKSP cricketer going into the nets for a trial, and say Mohammad Isam going to the nets for trial. There's like huge difference. I've not faced that much fast bowling. I've not seen that good a wicket in my life. I may have just only played in cement tracks or on mud tracks, on mud patches. So that's where the discrepancy is. That's how BKSP used to go ahead of all of us, because they knew all the stretching drills or the running drills. We were not aware of all of them, unless you followed international cricket or you had those books in those days. Or now, now I think a cricketer, it's very much sink or swim. I cannot sugarcoat it for you. It's sink or swim. If you come from a good enough background in terms of your cricket training, or if you had a good coach in your rural town, or your whatever, I mean, wherever you're from, you make it. You'll make it. Otherwise, it's extremely difficult to make it in Bangladesh cricket.
Yeah, that's yeah, very sad to hear. Obviously, as a Bangladeshi as well, you want Bangladesh cricket to do the best they can. Especially they've been in international cricket for so long, and it seems like the situation domestically or structurally hasn't really changed in order to help produce more high level, world class cricketers. So, keeping that in mind, though, when it comes to even for yourself, has there been a lot of talent or young talent that you've seen that kind of faded into obscurity because of what we've basically discussed, because of the structure of the system, didn't get that many opportunities? Like, do you see maybe an influx or a consistent pattern of many young, talented cricketers that just don't get the help or assistance or coaching or the right resources, and then they just fade into obscurity?
Yeah, man, there's like too many to name. I think great batters I've seen when I was growing up, unbelievable hitters. We've had cricketers who, well, some have reached first class cricket, but they couldn't make it through after that. Forget about them. I mean, those who never made it to real time cricket or real club cricket, I know too many. Many of them reside in Australia. I'll give you one example. It's a very, very interesting one. He lives in Sydney right now. I think his name is Rashid Hossain. He participated in he was the first Bangladeshi to participate in MasterChef Australia before Kishwar. Rashidul Hassan. He's an IT specialist, I think. We used to play cricket together. He's a very good leg spinner. He's a very good leg spinner, but he never made it through because he was a leg spinner. Just imagine how sad it was. He was the fittest guy I knew. He was a brilliant fielder. He was a good batter, but his main thing was he was a very good leg spinner. The moment he went to Australia, I think he played cricket. I think now his son plays cricket, so he's slightly older than me. But the point is, that talent that he had. Um, if you see his bowling action nowadays, he when he comes back to Dhaka, he plays with me in corporate cricket, and it's fantastic. He still bowls very well, and I think I've had conversations with him about how comfortable he was playing cricket in Australia. That was because the whole structure in Australia supports a cricketer. Here, a coach sees a leg spinner, he knows it's a gone case. I mean, it's not going to work. You'll have to bowl left arm spin, you'll have to bowl off spin, or maybe you have to be a batter. And that itself is such a restrictive mindset. I'm really, I mean, I want to say some good things about Bangladesh cricket. I want to give you great examples, but I mean, I don't know. It's extremely hard to say some nice stuff about Bangladesh cricket right now.
I've quickly tried to pull up Rashidul Hassan, and yeah, like he, as you say, he's like a chef now. It's pretty interesting
Yeah,
background actually.
yeah.
Plays for Roseville Cricket in I think in Sydney. Yeah, so
Yeah,
he's
he's
still
very
playing
talented. He's a
here.
chef. I forgot to say that he's now a chef as well. I think he worked in one of the bigger multinationals when he was in Bangladesh. And then he moved to Australia. I know him since I was 14 or 15, class bowler. But Bangladesh obviously doesn't care for leg spinners.
I mean, yeah, he has a for the Australian listeners is to register to play club cricket here in Australia. You have to go through the Play Cricket website. So I'm on his account. He averages 19 with the ball after bowling 136 overs. So that's pretty good as a leg spinner. So yeah, that's
Exactly.
very interesting. I guess unfortunately, like, and that reminds me. Speaking of leg spinners, like I remember Jubair Hossain. He was a leg spinner, played for Bangladesh, seemed really talented. Got Virat Kohli out, so like, what do you think happened to him? Because now we have the rise of Rishad Hossain because of Chandika Hathurusinghe. I think fast tracked him into the national team and was able to perform well, and then play around the world, and then people noticed him in the World Cup. Then he was able to play Big Bash, and I had the opportunity to watch him at the MCG. But then it makes you think like so someone like Aminul Islam, there was Jubair Hussain before that, but then they just favored into obscurity. So what do you think happened there?
Well, the difference between Jubair Hussain and Rishad Hussain is just that when both are Hathura Singh's creations. They saw Jubair in the nets. Hatu was so excited that he gave him a test debut just after one first class match. He bowled very well in that test match. I think he got Virat Kohli out with a googly. And then in one game, Rishad made the mistake of bowling a double bounce delivery against, I think, Malcolm Waller, probably in a T20, in his T20 debut. And by then, all coaches in Bangladesh made him their number one enemy because Hatu had discovered him, and Bangladesh coaches don't really like such things. So Jubair also had disciplinary issues after that. I think he was not. I'm not saying that he would miss certain things, but he got unfit, and then Rishad's situation was very similar. Rishad, when he came up, he would only play all these side matches against visiting teams, and then the day Hatu saw him, started to back him, and salute to Hatu for doing that, and Rishad for his own to give him that credit, he kept performing and performing. And when you do well in a T20 World Cup, it doesn't really matter what others are saying or how Bangladesh cricket runs. He's like Shakib now or Mustafiz. He's beyond Bangladesh cricket. So when you go beyond Bangladesh cricket, and it's a very difficult art that he has. It's leg spin. It's not as if he's bowling some magical cutters like Mustafiz or he's just bowling left arm spin. He is bowling leg spin, which and in a field like in a place like Big Bash, and now he's going to the PSL where it's difficult. It's difficult to bowl leg spin, but he's very hats off to him, hats off to Hatu for backing him, and thankfully he's gone beyond that level now. That domestic cricket or BPL doesn't really matter to him what he does. He'll have to keep performing for Bangladesh, and he's already done so well. 6 wickets against West Indies last year in an ODI, one of the best bowling spells by a Bangladeshi bowler, and then always does well in crunch situations. Bowled that last over great against Pakistan as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like speaking of Rishad, his name is now kind of surpassed. Is outside of Bangladesh cricket now. Where, like, I interviewed Tim Ward, who plays for Hobart Hurricanes, who's a teammate of Rishad Hossain. He was saying like, he was super impressed by how good he is. And I interviewed Amir Jungle from West Indies. He said that he called Rishad Hossain world class leg spinner. So all this sort of stuff you can already see when other players are talking about him in such a way, like he doesn't need to quote unquote rely on Bangladesh cricket now. Like everyone sort of knows him because of his performances now. So he's made a name for himself. But it's unfortunate, like someone like Jubair couldn't do something similar before him. But speaking of Chandika Hathurusinghe, because he's also Sydney based. I think he was New South Wales coach at one point, all that kind of stuff. So give us a bit of because from what you've described, like he seems to be the one that was willing to make gambles based on players that only played one first class match. So tell us a bit more about him as a coach and his impact in Bangladesh cricket. Because I know there was a lot of friction and stuff with certain players in Hathra Singha, but at the same time, he's also done things like, if he wasn't coaching at the time of Rishad coming up, I doubt we would have seen the same Rishad that we see now.
Not just Rishad. I think if we talk about Hathur Singh, I have to talk about both his phases, 14 to 17, and then I think when 23 to 24. Yeah. Um, I think in 14 to 17 he discovered not just Zubair. He had very good role to play for Mustafiz's development. Tamim felt very comfortable with him, and generally cricketers would be comfortable working with him because he's a very good one-on-one coach. I think he's got I think the things that we heard and then what we saw was that maybe on a maybe on a team or maybe with him getting so involved with the board president or the board president getting too much involved with the team, those frictions started to develop within the team, and then people used to not trust each other. That was one issue when he was there in the first phase. And then it got a little funny. I think when he came back in 2023 in the first press conference, I asked him, so how many times did the cricket board ask you to come back? Because we used to hear this often. So between Hathurusinghe's two phases, there were coaches like Steve Rhodes, Domingo, yeah, Russell Domingo, and who else? I forgot. So they were the two main coaches during that time, I think. And then whenever Bangladesh lost a series or did badly, we would hear that Nazmul Hasan Papan was calling Hathur come back. You know, how sad that was. But when I asked Hatu, I asked him, is it once, twice, thrice? And then he said the media manager didn't let him answer the question. It was plenty of times. They used to call him all the time. Even when Bangladesh was doing well, they wanted him back. So, and you know how Nazmul Hasan Papan, he was a bit like a Donald Trump. He'd run as he pleased. So, yeah. Hatu, I think, is a very good coach. He still is a very good coach. I think he works in Sydney at the moment, but his exit from Bangladesh was really bad because the board president at that time, Farooq Ahmed, took it very personally that Hatu was here. They were sworn enemies. Hatu always claims that I don't know why we're enemies, but I think it goes back to 2016 when Hatu was the king of Bangladesh cricket at that time, and Farooq Ahmed didn't like that part, and they had an argument somewhere, and then Farooq Ahmed's power as the or his authority as the chief selector was taken or brought down because they wanted to give Hatu more emphasis as a selector come coach. So all those things, of course, Hatu knows those things. But when Farouk became president in 2024 after the student-led revolution, he was hell-bent on removing him, and they got Phil Simmons in place. So um, honestly, I think Hathura Singh's time in Bangladesh was very successful. The first phase, especially 14 to 17, obviously it comes down to how many matches he won and how he impacted the team. I think that there were some big wins, but even after that, you had Steve Rose, who had a great record as a Bangladesh coach, and sacked in a very flimsy manner. You had Russell Domingo winning major series in South Africa against India, sacked after that. So these are good coaches. If their potential was fulfilled, or if you could maybe maybe if you could sorry if you could allow them to coach properly, Hathur Singh, Steve Rhodes, Russell Domingo, they could have fulfilled a lot of promises because they were really good. All of them were pretty good. I think Hathur Singh had in two phases. Maybe the things that he said maybe have gone against him. Maybe temper was an issue, but I never witnessed it. There is a very well known incident as well that people have claimed to have seen. So I think Bangladesh really misses out because of so much politics, so much interference in everything. It's sad, really.
Yeah, that's definitely sad. And you mentioned Steve Rose, Domingo Hathurusinghe. Who do you think has been the most impressive coach throughout, maybe the recent past or within the last 2 decades? You think
Uh, Sorry, can you tell me what
which
timeline you're
coach?
giving me?
I mean, the last 2 decades, or yeah, since maybe the 2000s to now. Who do you think has been the
Okay,
most impressive
okay.
coach in general for
Uh,
Bangladesh cricket?
okay, since the test status. Yeah, I mean, everyone, I'll go with what players have told me. I think I've not been coached by any one of them. I'll go one by one. I think Gordon Greenwich, obviously, before the 99 World Cup, he got the team to its destination, international cricket. And after that, Eddie Barlow, which the first generation of Test cricketers in Bangladesh say was a huge miss because he got ill and then he died. May his soul rest in peace. He was a very good coach at that time. Then a string of poor coaches, and then you had Dav Watmore, uh, tremendous coach, still coaching. I'm very good friends of with. I'm very good friend with. I've got a great relationship with Dev. Sometimes turns up for the BPL as well. A wonderful character, really good man management, a person who had great idea about how to handle South Asian cricketers. He was a champion with Sri Lanka, also coached Pakistan. Then you had Jamie Siddons, who probably took Bangladesh out of a batting in subcontinent mentality and then gave, you know, um, confidence to a number of cricketers like Shakib, Tamim, Mushfiq. You had Junaid Siddiqui, you had Rakibul Hassan, these cricketers. Um, and of course, Shane Jurgensen. Shane Jurgensen, for the little time that he was the coach, he brought a sense of, I think, bravado to the team. He was a fast bowling coach who was turned into a head coach overnight. And then I remember Bangladesh winning a lot of things under him at that time. And he had a great friendship with Mushfiq Rahim at that time. Uh, Shane has that confidence and also that sunny vibe that he's always smiling, but he's also cussing. He's got that. So he was good. Hathurusinghe, obviously, that period you can't really discount that 14 to 17 when Bangladesh did so well. Then you have, as I mentioned, Steve Rhodes, Russell Domingo. I think Phil Simmons is also a major coach, one of the best coaches in the world. Maybe he doesn't have a great Bangladesh team in his hand. He would have done better, and he's very involved. So, and Bangladesh has had great specialist coaches as well. Neil McKenzie, you had Alan Donald. I think there was a time when Bangladesh had Courtney Walsh, and now Mushtaq Ahmed, obviously, a top leg spin coach and working with Rishad and all the other spinners, and spin bowling has really improved for Bangladesh. So, yeah, Bangladesh has been blessed with a lot of good coaches, and that I've always thought about it, Tanzim, that we get the best coaches, but we never get the best out of them.
Yeah, that's definitely a shame. And in terms of like Shane Jurgensen's friend of the show, and yeah, he had so many insights to share on the show. So I can imagine the other coaches what they brought to the table. And you mentioned Dave Watmore because he's probably in terms of from my perspective because I was like when Bangladesh played in 2007 World Cup. I think I was in public school at the time, so I remember him very closely because if I recall, he was also the coach at the time, if I'm not mistaken, when in 2007 World Cup, Bangladesh beat India. So you said that he was good when it comes to dealing with subcontinent players. Like, do you find these coaches like if you were to assess them? Because there's different types of coaching. Right? There's someone that's very technical. There could be someone that instills a lot of confidence, or someone that's very maybe psychological and fixates on the psychological side to a cricketer and tries to give them that confidence. Like, what do you think is the common attributes of these, or just in general, a good coach? Because I know we even talk about Salahuddin, who's part of Bangladesh cricket. People talk about him as being a very good coach. Like, is it the technical knowledge that they give to the players that sets them apart, or is it the more way that they carry themselves, or the way that they know how to build someone's confidence in a player? Like, what do you think makes a great coach, especially in the Bangladesh context?
In the Bangladesh context, a coach earns the players' respect by having a lot of technical knowledge. So I would say that someone like Neil McKenzie or Ashwell Prince, they've done a lot of work with the Bangladesh cricketers and they've earned a lot of respect in that dressing room. Same goes for Jamie Siddons, same goes for Steve Rhodes and Hathurusinghe. When it came to someone like Russell Domingo, he took a different approach. Obviously, he had a lot of technical knowledge, but he also allowed the cricketers to think for themselves, which the cricket board hated. Why are you letting them think for themselves? They are our minions. You don't let them think for themselves. You think for them. I've had a lot of conversations with Russell where I warned him, Russell, don't piss them off. They're really bad people. They're gonna. I remember the first meeting we had. It was just after that Kolkata ping ball test match, and Russell called me from the press conference room and said, "Come, I need to talk to you." And it was our first meeting, and I tried to give him a sense of what the relationship between a coach and a board president is like here. It was eye opening for him, I think. And then he started to understand that the whole concept of interference, and the board president at that time, obviously Mr. Nazmul Hassan Papon, used to, rule the show. So they obviously needs to have a lot of technical knowledge. That's what impresses a cricketer, and that's what gains the trust of a cricketer. So I think plenty of times I've seen that the more knowledgeable a cricketer, or a coach who can impart that knowledge. I think not just having knowledge is important. You need to also impart it to the players. When that happens, I think players feel more comfortable and they try to connect with the coaches.
It's interesting you said that the players will naturally respect a coach that has a lot of technical knowledge. Do you find that that's because in Bangladesh in general, or the coaching setup in Bangladesh in the local, maybe younger levels, there seems to be a lack of coaches that have that technical knowledge when it comes to batting or bowling or anything like that.
Yeah, there's a huge gap. I mean, now I think a lot of these ex-cricketers who've played for Bangladesh, now they are coming up, who have been coached by good coaches. Now they are coming up through the system. Um, Among the, say, I would say previous generation coaches, you have Mohammad Salahuddin, you have Sohail Islam, you have Mizan Rahman Babul, and from slightly further back is you have Sarwar Imran. They are the good technical coaches, but you can't have six coaches or seven coaches coaching the whole country. So I think they have very good idea knowledge about like Salahuddin has done courses in Patiala, he's worked in BKSP, and he's also worked in Kuala Lumpur in another university, and he's gained those coaching degrees. I'm not saying the others haven't. I mean, even if you talk about nowadays, you hear players talk about Shahriar Nafis, Nafis Iqbal sometimes, because they're with the system. They spend a lot of time with it. So recently, Tanzid Hassan spoke about Shahriar Nafis and how that relationship helped him become a better cricketer. He didn't go into a lot of details. I know the details. There was a lot of mental work, but there was also a lot of technical work because, as I said, a cricketer in Bangladesh, uh, he becomes doubtful of a person who doesn't have cricketing knowledge because there's not a lot of people who have cricketing knowledge here. People talk a lot, but they don't really know what they're talking about. So you'll have a lot of nowadays. Bangladesh will have some good coaches coming up, I think, in the coming years with a lot of these guys like Shahriar Nafis also dabbling into coaching.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, and that's unfortunate. I mean, we're hoping, like you mentioned, that a lot of experienced cricketers, hopefully, they get into coaching, get impart the knowledge they've learned from their journey to the younger generation as well. And I think that's something that maybe people that live in England, Australia, New Zealand, wherever, take for granted. Where I know that you might need to spend a bit of money, but having access to technical coaches isn't too far away, as opposed to maybe people that are born in Bangladesh and so forth. And in terms of the BCB, so you mentioned Papon was BCB head at some point, and then when the whole situation with the Awami League happened, and then Farooq Ahmed came into the picture through the interim government, and then after that now is now it's changed because of now we have BNP in power, and then the now it's a different board president. So even though there seems to be a lot of instability in the recent past, how do you find the board at the moment? Do you feel that maybe you have optimism that things will be more stable and are able to address the root causes that maybe we've talked about in this podcast?
No, mate, they won't. So what I'm hearing is that there's another board that is being prepared, another probably an ad hoc committee or a 10-member ad hoc committee or something like that. I mean, I'm just hearing these rumors now. There is a sports ministry has appointed an investigation committee to look into the elections, and then there's a case pending in the High Court, which could declare the board of directors, as illegal, given that the election was so dubious. The previous election, I mean, it was completely, it was just a joke of an election. I mean, most BCB elections are quite poor, but this one was especially bad because of how Amin Islam boasted of bringing accountability and all these things to cricket, and when you don't deliver, but it doesn't happen. So as you asked, I hope the new people who are coming over, I don't know who that is. I don't want to name anyone, but whoever is coming and taking power, they bring, at least the cricketers are hoping that they bring the league back. They bring a semblance of normality back into Bangladesh cricket. I think what we spoke about in this discussion is a beautiful discussion, but these things will take time, and they will need a BCB president with a bit of vision or a bit of um, understanding of cricket. We know who that is. I know who that is, and that guy is really good. But I just hope that he comes and he starts to work and takes charge because he's got a great vision. He wants to develop something like what India has done with the NCA or what Pakistan has done with their NCA, or bringing that performance-based policy back into Bangladesh cricket. I mean, 2013 to 20, I think, was great. Mashrafi, Mushfiq leading the teams. You had Tamim, Shakib there, Mahmudullah there. I'm not. I'm not saying that they were the greatest cricketers. I'm saying that's the best that Bangladesh had. And to denigrate them into, and I know they've made mistakes. They've done politics. Maybe they've dabbled into taking photos with political leaders and stuff. But just look at their numbers and look at the numbers of at that time. Just example, Tamim Iqbal and Shakib. Tamim Iqbal was probably the most prolific opener in ODIs during his career, in terms of other openers as well. Then you had Shakib, or one of the prolific openers during his career. Shakib, obviously number one for such a long time. Mashrafi, despite his, my point here is that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? You're talking about this cricket board, right? What
Yeah.
is about to happen? Yeah, I think we can see some of the rats running out of the sinking ship now. A lot of these board decks are running away now. You can't see them anymore. You'll have a new set of people coming over. I really hope that they engage Mashrafi, Sakib, Mushfiq, Mahmudullah in decision making or something. I know it's a very political thing to say these days, but I'm talking about cricket. Mashrafi comes in to the cricket board, takes control of, give him fast bowling. Just give him one part of it. Mushfiq, he can take care of something. Shakib can play. Shakib can probably play for another year. I don't know, maybe a year, maybe one more series, but bring him back. Um, these are the things that Bangladesh cricket needs to do, and I think if if they miss the train this time, uh, I don't think we'll ever need to have any discussion about Bangladesh cricket after that.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned, like, I think it's really important that the board utilize the players that you mentioned. Like Shakib, obviously, so much knowledge, played IPL, so many stars, like well respected around the world. Tamim Iqbal, like, I even think in terms of his stats alone, like for his talent, he's underperformed in the sense that he's high class player, but probably for his talent should have been averaging above 45 or so. It's probably averaging under that throughout his career. But nonetheless, definitely what you mentioned, the best Bangladeshi opener we've produced. So utilizing these players and having players like Mamadullah as well, who's had a lot of success as well in Tashuk and Mushfiqur Rahim. Obviously, like, we need to utilize these players and make sure going forward that we can. They can impart the knowledge they've learned onto the younger generation, and then we can build off what they've achieved, because that's definitely, like, it's really hard now to say in this current generation that even the current crop of players that are young, you could say Tawhid Ridoy, Tanzid Hassan, Parvez Eman, all these players, like, I don't know if they're going to be as good as that core trio or players of the caliber of Mushfiq, Tamim, and Shakib. So, but the only way we can do that is use the knowledge that they have. And I had one question as well, because you mentioned Mahmudullah. He came out in an interview recently talking about his experiences with the BCB and how he got pretty much left out of. I think he was describing an incident where he wasn't allowed to train anymore at the training ground, and they just kind of moved him from the team without really conveying or communicating to him, even though he's been so experienced and has served Bangladesh cricket for a long, long time. So I think it speaks to what we're talking about, the board probably not being, as good as they should have been. So, did you know more about that when it comes to, I guess, what Mahmudullah went through? Because yeah, it was pretty sad when I listened to him on the interview. I think it was Simply Saeed or something. I think that's the podcast name. So
Well, that was the first time I heard about it. I never heard it at that time. He kept it to himself. He said that he never brought it up with anyone. It's really sad and emblematic of Bangladesh Cricket Board. They're very powerful. They can do what they want. And then at the timeline that he's talking about, obviously, uh, it was during that Awami League phase, and when these stories, Shohag Ghazi had a story to tell. I think one other cricketer came out in public before that, before Mahmudullah. This was very much par for the course. If you're not with us, you just no, you don't care. And it's such a sad thing to do. I mean, nowadays they can't really dare. I'm very surprised that Mahmudullah was treated that way, because you have a lot of these paparazzi type cricket portals nowadays, which has their cameras fixed on cricketers entering and coming out and going out. Maybe it was an off day and they took a chance. And these are like, and I'm not talking about. I don't think any major serious guy in the cricket board would do such a thing. It's one of those people with a lot of power trips who would do such a thing. But these are very common in Bangladesh, and this sort of brutality of not playing for Bangladesh after you've played for Bangladesh. I really really admire the fact that he's come back to the team. I wrote when he scored his 101 KD. I have a story to tell about that. So he scored that 100. I got really emotional. I mean, there was a crap day for Bangladesh and South Africa smashed them. That 100 was a saving grace. And I met him at the press conference. And I don't think he would. I didn't, and he was very emotional that day. And I didn't think he would even remember me. Uh, I mean, in that sense, on that day. But then suddenly he just, when he was walking out, I think someone asked him what was the secret or something to this 100, and he said, "Ask Isam bhai. We've batted together." So the story is, shortly after he was dropped, and we all knew that he was dropped for good. I think his manager was celebrating his 40th birthday or something, and then he invited us to a dinner, but there was cricket involved, obviously, because Mahmudullah was there. But I didn't know that Mahmudullah would be there. So I went there. He said, come prepared for a cricket match. So we went to this place, slightly on near the airport, actually. So we went there, and there was Mahmudullah, and I batted with him for 7 or 8 overs. Such a delight. I mean, I was telling him, play this shot, play that shot. He said, it's not easy. It's a good fast bowling attack that we'll play. And then he remembered it. And the story that I wrote was Mahmudullah was so far behind or so far off Bangladesh cricket that he was batting with Mohammad Isam. That he's come back from the dead. That was the story. That the guy who's come back from the dead. So dead was he that he was playing cricket with this correspondent. And my office really enjoyed it. I mean, they really loved the fact that I had that connection. And then that was a great innings. I mean, scoring that 100 against a South African bowling attack. Now that you think about it, in a World Cup, he's got hundreds. I think he's got 300s in the World Cup and one in the Champions Trophy. So miles ahead of a lot of overachieving Bangladesh cricketers as well. So we never really paid enough attention to him because he was so taken for granted as a cricketer that yeah, I mean, and that incident that is tragic. That is and as I said, it's emblematic of Bangladesh cricket.
Yeah, it's definitely a shame, and because he scored those hundreds in Australia, so I remember them very fondly as well. And it's crazy that people like that who have served Bangladesh for so long were put to the side so quickly as well, which is unfortunate. Because especially like in other cricketing nations, you'll see many people that have achieved a lot get so much respect, but it didn't really happen, unfortunately, with Mahmudullah. But he's someone that actually overachieved in the sense that I mentioned Naeem Islam before. I remember him and Mahmudullah very similar coming into the team. They're both like literally bat at 8 or 9, both off spinners. And then yeah, somehow Mahmudullah sort of made his name over Naeem and was able to bat top order and do all that. Achieve so much for Bangladesh cricket. And I know we've covered a lot on the show. I'll probably have a few more questions before we wrap up the show. And my other question would be basically like something we didn't touch so far in the show is that I think what's really unique about Bangladesh cricket is the way like the media, the social media, the fans, like how crazy we are. And so we have this culture like of a lot of hate online, and it's very vicious. It can be very personal, like towards the players, and it becomes like in the form of memes. Some of it is funny, not gonna lie. Sometimes it's just generally funny, but I can imagine like the players how they might responding and how much emotional toil might cause to players when they see that kind of hatred or meme culture online. So can you tell us a bit about that, and if it does actually affect the players, or maybe the players are just sort of used to it and they don't really let it affect them?
They're used to it, but they're getting used to it, but they don't really like it. It does affect their personal space. It does affect their family life. It does affect their mental stability. I've heard about players going into depression, reading all these comments, and I think now they're also slowly figuring out that many of them are just bots, which are targeting them, maybe from a political point of view or something. So I mean, it's not doesn't that doesn't really help. Also, I mean, maybe many people don't understand what bots are, so they take it seriously. So it does affect them, but I think they're slowly getting used to it, and it's just outside noise. um, for a previous generation, it was always playing in the Dhaka Stadium and having Abwani Mohammedan matches or rivals abusing them, sledging them, riots happening. That happened in Bangladesh. That was very vicious. That was very visceral, also on your face. But now we have moved on to another sort of like another sort of abuse, but it was online to go with the times, and it's terrible. It's horrible. I mean, it's not something that they really aspire to have. But on the flip side, it keeps Bangladeshis going. Abusing cricketers. It's probably one of the most favorite pastime these days, and that's it's. I hope it's taken seriously. I hope Bangladeshi cricketers now believe that they have an image crisis. They need to come out of it, and they need to start winning more. It's less about image; it's more about performance. I think if they start to win more, people will get off their backs.
Yeah, definitely. We need to focus on the bigger picture, which is trying to make Bangladesh cricket better. And it's something I just had an idea where, because you mentioned like the facilities and infrastructure are probably not as good, and so it's not conducive for players to develop. Like, why doesn't, for example, BCB do something a bit different? Where I know, like in the Australian context, like when they're not playing club cricket in the summer, they go to England in the winter to train. But you don't really hear of stories of Bangladeshi cricketers that are invested in from a young age and sent to different camps or different clubs. Maybe it could be South Africa, England, wherever, so that they can get developed from a younger age and be used to maybe different conditions. Is that investment like maybe? Or I don't know if from the England perspective they don't choose players from Bangladesh for whatever reason, but has that ever been considered in terms of pipeline? Because based on the conversation we just had today, it seems like it's difficult to really develop players in the Bangladesh system. But I guess
You
in the
mean
short
sending
term
them
fix, we have to
abroad?
think of something.
Sending
Yeah,
players
sending
abroad?
them abroad from a
Yeah,
younger
yeah.
age.
I don't know whether you know, but Bangladesh had a partnership with the Cricket Australia. It used to be called the ACB, right? And Bangladesh would send a player every year to the Commonwealth Cricket Academy. That had some very good players. I think um, I don't remember. Talha Jubair was probably one of them. There was one guy called Shafaq Al Zavir. Nadif Chaudhary probably was one of them. Then they had a partnership with MCC as well. But as I said, and I'm not being sarcastic, when Bangladesh cricket has grown over the 2010s, they've started to believe that their system, their infrastructure is good enough. It's not, and this must happen again. Not just Australia, England, South Africa, New Zealand. Send them to India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe. If you need, send them to Nepal to relearn what passion for cricket is. So there is definitely room for that.
Yeah, definitely. And one maybe last question or two before we play a short game at the end. Like, especially when you're a cricket journalist yourself, do you think cricket journalism in Bangladesh is too close to the game? Like, because I know that maybe there can be a trade off because you know the players well and you interact with them. That might take away from being authentic with your journalism. So, do you have this schism sometimes between being close with the players, not trying to offend them too much, and trying to be as real and authentic as possible?
No, mate, it's very real. It's very, very real. It's very practical. I don't think maybe there's a small minority who are not who do not write the right things, but major portion of, especially the written media in Bangladesh, is very fair. They're very just with cricketers, and they have good relationship. And the more mature cricketers, they understand this. That well, I have my uh, and that relationship is, I would say, mostly healthy. And with the writing crew or the people who write on cricket, um, because of how social media has brought on this advent of extra content of having just seeing the players walk stuff like that. It's That's where the trouble begins. But I don't know whether that can be called journalism. Also, I think some of the players also understand what journalism is and what sports writing is and what is not. They crave sports writing. They really ask me, why don't you write about cricket? Why don't you write more about cricket? Not about the cricket board. So I think that relationship is it's a beautiful relationship. I think it's a wonderful thing. Not many countries anymore have it. It's a trade off, of course, but I'm happy to tell you that most of the writers understand where that line is, and cricketers are starting to understand what that line is. So long way to continue.
And especially everything you've shared on the show today, like has covering Bangladesh cricket made you more sympathetic to the Bangladeshi players because of, for example, the obstacles they've had to go through structurally or through the domestic system or whatever it may be, or has it made you more skeptical about players? Maybe you feel like they're not putting, because you gave an example, for example, like 10, 15 minutes in the batting nets and stuff. So maybe they're not pulling their weight or working as hard enough as maybe other players around the world. So have you do you feel like covering from a journalist perspective has it made you more sympathetic towards the players or more critical of the players?
No, no, mate. That 10-15 minutes is because of the system in Bangladesh, because of the lack of infrastructure. One
Okay.
cement pitch
Yeah.
for 40 kids. So he has to bet 10 minutes. He wants to bet for 40 minutes, right? It's not his fault. No. Um, uh, it has made me lose a lot of respect for certain individuals that I respected when I was a kid. Uh, there's a colleague of mine, Andrew Miller, has written a book that Never Meet Your Heroes. It was a book on heroes, but he said Never Meet Your Heroes, and it has affected me. It has never been about showing sympathy to anyone, but I would always champion the cause of Bangladesh cricketers in the sense that they do come from very hard backgrounds, and nowadays they do come from very difficult family backgrounds, financial backgrounds, and then they make it to cricket where they don't get the best facilities, and then they make it. So you have the likes of Shakib, uh, Mustafiz, and Rishad with their God-given talent going up. But then you have others also fighting and making sure that they make it to the big leagues or the Bangladesh team. So I think less sympathy. I try to help them as well whenever they want some help in terms of some sort of statistics or some sort of records that they want to know. Or and I talk to them. And now I'm slightly older than most of these cricketers. So there was a time I was younger than all the cricketers in the Bangladesh team, or whoever I covered. Now I'm older than most of them. So it's a different dynamic now. And yeah, I mean, uh, not totally sympathetic and not totally skeptical as well. I think a mix of both.
Yeah, definitely. I know we've had you for a while, and I just want to end on a quick game because there's so many questions I'll ask you, but I don't want to, take. It'll end up being like 3-4 hours, so I don't want to make it that long. Maybe for another time. But there's this game that I play with some of our guests, and it just gets into the spirit of sharing some stories about certain players maybe you've seen or interacted. In this case, we'll pick. We'll play the draft 11, just picking Bangladeshi cricketers either who are playing currently or have played in the past. So how it works is that because you're the guest, you can pick first. You have to pick number 1 to 11, like your team from 1 to 11. So you start off picking your opener, then I'll pick my opener. Maybe you can share some words on why you picked up their opener, and then we can decide who has the best team by the end of it. So how does that sound? We'll get straight into it.
Perfect,
Maybe
perfect.
you have
Let's
some
go.
stories to share. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe you have some underrated player that you're going to pick that many people don't know
sure.
about. So, okay, so first pick is yours. You have to pick your number one opening batsman. Who would that be?
Bangladesh all time, right?
Yeah, Bangladesh. Yeah, you can pick someone in the past, a Bangladeshi cricketer, or who's playing currently.
But it has to be a Bangladeshi cricketer.
Yeah, it has to be Bangladesh. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's the number one is very easy. Sami Iqbal, probably the most talented Bangladeshi batter, and who has probably fulfilled 60% of his whole talent, which is a high number in Bangladesh. Had the privilege of interviewing him many times. I've bowled to him a few times, and played alongside him once in a tape tennis match some few years ago. So not just that, it's been good to have his insights sometimes. Really good thinker of cricket, and his approach to opening the batting was scientific, and also very zen-like. So I love that.
Yeah, I think he's definitely my hero, especially growing up because I watched. I was young when I saw him 2007 World Cup when he took on India, so that just like is a special memory for me personally. And what's really interesting as well because he was known as a hitter, a basher, or a slugger back then, and then he sort of developed himself technically. So do you feel that we mentioned before, like all the coaches that came into the picture? I know Jamie Siddons had an impact, and other coaches. He seems to have because I remember there was one time when he was young, like people were saying, "Oh, he doesn't have much of a leg side game." And then later he's developed it and that kind of stuff. So he's probably he's one player that's probably benefited a lot from technical coaches from other countries. Would you say that's the case?
Uh, at the start of his career, yes, Dev Watmore maybe, and then maybe Jamie in a big way. Probably a bit of Hatu as well. But from the time Hatu came, I think it was more to keep Tamim's confidence, or maybe just keep it very easy for him, because he's also one player, one character who likes things to be a little smooth and a little comfortable in the dressing room so that he can go out and fight. So um, I think more than that, bowlers have taught him a lot of lessons. I think bowlers have, I think his battles with bowlers have been very interesting. I think that's what has developed him as a batter.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'll pick my opening batsman. I'll probably bit of a left field pick. I'll pick probably Mohammad Ashraful before you steal him away because I think he's so memorable in Bangladesh cricket, and he's
Oh,
actually
so
a
I
special
can't pick
memory.
anyone that you picked, right?
Yeah, I can't. You can't pick my players. Yeah, so that's why I had to pick him as
Oh,
my opener.
sorry, I
Yeah.
picked Tamim early. Okay, okay. I'll go for some left field picks. Some interesting ones. No
Yes.
problem. That's
So
good.
I picked
Yeah.
Ashraful. Like he has a special memory for me because I was really young when he scored that century against Australia, and back
Ah, that
then
one.
I
Yes.
was like proper Australian fan. I wore my Australian cap. My grandmother in Bangladesh is like, "Who do you support?" And I'll be like Australia, and she'll be like, "Astaghfirullah."
Yeah.
So like, and I remember like that when Australia lost to Bangladesh, that was the time when I was really following cricket, and that's when I changed teams because I'm like, when I started following Australia properly, that's when Australia lost. So, Ashraf was a big part of me following
Right.
Bangladesh cricket so closely. So, but yeah, I pick Ashraful. So I don't know if you have any stories about Ashraful in general because he was the poster boy for Bangladesh cricket for so long.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you want me to name a Bangladesh 11 of any format, I would definitely pick him. I had that grey moment in the end of his career, but uh, there's no point talking about that. I think he's a great talent. Apparently, he's a very good. I have heard that he's a good coach. He's now working with the Bangladesh team, so let's see how far that goes. So yeah, I mean, wonderful cricketer. I've had childhood memories with him. I think we were in the same under 13 camp way before anything happened in Bangladesh cricket. But yeah, it's interesting cricket. It is a very interesting character as well. Should I go
I
for number
forgot
two?
to. So before I pick a
Yeah.
number two, I forgot to ask as I forgot to mention about Mohammad Ashraful. He came to Sydney. This was a few years ago, and I played in the same competition as him in Bangla comp. So he came down for one game. I didn't play that game, but I played in the same competition. So I went to the ground. I watched him bat in live in the same competition. It was such a treat. He made it like a runnable 50, but he just didn't try. He's just like elegant. Like you could hear like when the ball hit the bat, it was different. Like that this was a special player. Like so I've
Right.
had that opportunity, thankfully, to be able to watch him in action, actually, in the same competition. So, but yeah, sorry. Yeah, who'd you pick as your number two?
I would pick Mehrab Hossain OP as my number two. He was the first Bangladesh centurion, one day centurion at in 1999. Very talented cricketer, perhaps a little indisciplined in the sense that he was very naughty uh, in our language, in our Bangladeshi context. But tremendous talent, a very stylish cricketer. I have a thing for stylish batters, so Mehrab Hossain OP is my number two.
Yeah, amazing batsman. And so I would pick as my number two. It's a lot of names, but I'll pick probably Sharia Nafiz. I think he
Yeah,
was a
good
big
one.
big name in Bangladesh cricket for some time. A bit underappreciated, I'd say, despite the achievements he's had. Like I remember in the Test series against Australia in Fatullah, I think at the time,
Yeah,
like he had a huge role in that game. I remember I was actually in Bangladesh at the time when Bangladesh played Pakistan, and he had a big partnership with Shakib when Tamim and I think Nazimuddin had a collapse. And I'm like, oh man, like this is my first time watching Bangladesh play Test cricket and there was going to be a collapse. But then him and Shakib had like a 150 run partnership or something like that. This was a
something
long
like that.
time
Yeah.
ago. Yeah, so yeah, great player, good technique. I always enjoyed him, and he does punditry here and there, commentary and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like him as a player. So yeah, who would your number three be? Or unless you had any stories for Shoyan Hafiz in
Oh, no, I'm
particular.
of course good friend. We meet sometimes in the BCB. He's a cricket operations manager now, doing very well, mashallah. Lots of stories. My first test match as a journalist was covering that Fatullah test match. So first day scores 100, and he was a big deal at that time. So yeah, fantastic cricketer. My number three. I don't know what format we're picking it for, but I'm just picking a team. I would have picked Ashraful if you didn't pick him, but I think I want to pick Habibul Bashar. Habibul Bashar, the new chief selector, uh, uh, a very good senior figure in Bangladesh cricket, known him for many years, and such a savior in the early days of Bangladesh's Test cricket. So I would say, yeah. So after Tamim and the Maverick Mehrab Hossain, I would go for a bit of stodgy sort of, maybe going over the top as well sometimes. Habibul Bashar, number three.
Yeah, definitely great cricketer, and he seems like such a pleasant person as well, such a nice guy to talk to. So yeah, definitely. I remember I saw him in an interview. Like he was really good, obviously. At the time he played for Bangladesh, but then he said that at the time there wasn't real thirst for hundreds. It was more like if he scored 50 and that's enough. So imagine he lived in a situation or in a culture where they're pushing for hundreds. He probably would have done a lot better than he did at the time. So yeah, Habib Bashar definitely has been such a big pivotal part for Bangladesh cricket. So my number three, it's a hard one, but I'll probably pick. Ooh, okay. I think I'll just go left field a little bit. Actually, I have to pick him. I'll probably pick Shakib before you steal him. And it is at number three.
Oh no,
So
no, no. Go ahead. Just pick Mominul, Shakib, whoever. I'm gonna give you some interesting names. I'm just
okay,
playing along.
yeah,
It's not my best Bangladesh 11, obviously.
I have to pick Shakib. Yeah, I mean, not much has to be said about him, but yeah, I have
Yeah,
to pick him for number three, bats and bowls. But yeah, who would you
yeah.
pick for number four?
Number four. I'll give you some big names. I'll just take some alternatives and just maybe because I've picked Tamim and Habibul Bashar, some big scorers, and my rap. So number four, I'll go back. I'll go back in time. I'll take Minhajul Abidin. One of my earliest, the cricketers I've known, very stylish batter, and apparently someone has a very interesting story about him. And Nandu Bhai, whenever he walked out of the ground, he had not a speck on his whites, never dived to stop a ball. But he's a good fielder. He was a good fielder, a good bowler, a good batter, of course. But yeah, some great memories of Nandu Bhai. So number four would be Amin Nazul Abidin.
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, I never really got to see him play, but I've heard a lot of stories about him. And yeah, averaged 50 in domestic cricket, and he was known as, as you mentioned, like very stylish cricketer. So maybe if you can share some anything like stories or the way he batted with a younger audience like
Well,
myself who didn't get a chance to
Well,
see him.
the thing about him was that he was a proper one day number four, number five, who would come in and you would not notice him scoring a 50, a quick fire 50, a 40, 45 ball or a 50, 60 ball 50. And then obviously that would be a match winning innings. He played a lot of cricket for Mohammedan Cricket Club, which was one of the two giants. And he bowled this dibbly medium pace as well. It's just an afterthought. But then he would get a lot of wickets. He's Bangladesh's highest wicket taker in ICC trophy history. He was one of the highest scorers. I think could be the highest scorer himself, and he played a great role in Bangladesh's getting into the World Cup in 1999 with his performances. And then, of course, in the '99 World Cup when Bangladesh were I think 4 or 5 or 6 down for next to nothing against Scotland, he scored a brilliant 50 in very trying conditions in Edinburgh, and then Bangladesh won that game. He was Bangladesh's first man of the match in the World Cup. So, and I think he scored maybe also scored a 50 against Australia. So, but he never played Test cricket, and that was the big thing. So there were two things that happened. So in the '90s, there was a TV show in Bangladesh called Kothao Keo Nei. It was a famous novel by Humayun Ahmed, the deceased great legendary writer, and that turned into a TV series. And at the end of the TV series, the protagonist, Bakir Bhai, was about to be given a death sentence. It became such a big because people had read the book, right? So even there's a story that even the prime minister of the time called up Humayun Ahmed and said, "Please don't show the hanging, or please don't kill him, don't kill the main character. He's so popular." And there were riots in the street. There were protests coming out that because we do all those things. When Minhajul Abidin wasn't picked in the World Cup team, there were protests. So
Oh wow.
So he was big. He was big at that time. So you go ahead. You pick some new guys. I'll pick some of the older guys.
Nah, that's some
Yeah, go ahead.
beautiful
You're number
stories.
four.
I mean, I'll
Tanzim, let's
go
just
with
do it a
the.
little quickly because I have to meet someone in like a few minutes. So
Oh,
let's
okay,
just
no
cover
worries.
it a little bit.
I'll rush through it. Yeah, so I'll pick
Yeah.
number four, After Mohammed. I think he's
Oh, what
underrated,
a
big
player.
name. Yeah, so he's
Huge.
exciting player. Yeah,
No
he was
doubt.
top run scorer in the top four, top three run scorer in the World Cup ICC T20 at one point. So yeah, definitely
Could be. And,
done
but I think stylish, amazing hitter. And that six against Australia, that's my main thing about him.
exactly.
That's your number four.
Yeah, who's your number five?
Number five. Again, I'll go with one of the older ones, Akram Khan, former Bangladesh cricketer. was Bangladesh's captain in the '97 ICC Trophy win. Inspirational figure at that time, big guy, and I was big growing up, so I really related to him. I remember him being a super fielder as well, despite his certain challenges, but excellent batter. Um, I mean, he like Minhajul, pretty much similar role, also from Chittagong, but he was very good in accumulating runs, and he used to hit big sixes. And we loved him when we were kids. Akram Khan, number
Yeah,
five.
definitely. Yeah, Akram Khan, big name as well in Bangladesh cricket. I will
Yeah,
pick Liton Das probably at number five.
yeah, great choice.
The
What a
gun
batter!
player. Yeah,
Brilliant.
definitely.
Love seeing him
Who's
bat.
your
I,
number?
I would see him bat all day. Such a
Yeah,
great player.
beautiful
I was
batsman.
there in Taunton when he scored that 94. Shakib scored the 100, but Leighton's innings was something else. I was sitting with
Yeah,
Jared
amazing.
Kimber and one guy from Somerset who covers Somerset cricket, I think I remember, or one, I don't remember, yeah. And we're just marveling at his shots. I mean, that was something else. Or something else. So should
Under
I go for
pressure
number
as well.
six?
Yep, number six.
Number six. I'll give you Shakib. Don't worry. I want to pick someone who could have been a Shakib or was an earlier generation Shakib. Uh, Number six, domestic cricket maybe. Wait, I will go for a guy called Rafiqul Alam. Rafiqul Alam, very little is known about him. He was a very good batter in the 80s. So when Imran Khan brought a team to Bangladesh in 1985, I don't think you were born then, right?
Nah, I was 2 years later, 1997. I
Right.
was born.
So Imran Khan was like the Virat Kohli of these days, right? Big shot, very handsome, and he used to call the shots in world cricket at that time. So he got one guy called Umar Qureshi. Umar Qureshi used to be a administrator and commentator at that time, a Pakistani guy, to sponsor a team to come to Bangladesh called the Umar Qureshi 11. I'm telling you the story because that's where Rafiqul Alam's the legend grew. He hit Imran Khan for three or four boundaries in a row. Imran got really mad. Who the hell is this guy? And he went off. He went off and sat in the stands. This was in the stadium, the old stadium. Rafiqul Alam was a very, very hard hitting batter in the 80s and the early 90s. He played for the big clubs. He won a lot of big matches, and he was also my coach. So and he played for Bangladesh. I think first two ODIs he played, and then he sort of then they never picked him or he didn't. And he was a very moody character as well. So definitely, I would go for him at number six. And he bowled a lot of seam bowling. He's a good seamer as well, I think, or a leg spinner. I forgot, but yeah, number six would be him.
That's a great story. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely search him up after this show.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
was a
That's a
chief
crazy
selector
story.
from he was a chief selector from I think 2007 to 11 could be. Have a look.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I'll pick my number six will be. I think I'll pick. It's a bit tough. I'll probably pick Mamadullah just to be on the safe side. Bowling
Hey, I'm not
option as
picking
well.
Shakib. You can go ahead. It's no problem.
Okay. I mean, he's already my number three, so I already picked him.
Oh, he's a number three,
So
right? Right. Of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So far you've picked Tamim Iqbal, Merab Hussain, Habibul Bashar, Minhajul Abedin, Akram Khan, Rafiqul Alam. So who would you pick as your number seven?
Number seven, typical being a typical Bangladeshi, I would pick a wicketkeeper. I would say Khalid Mashood. Since you picked Liton, I would pick Khalid Mashood. Great wicketkeeper, very hardworking guy. Grew up from he got out of Rajshahi, became Bangladesh's number one wicketkeeper for a long time, from the mid 90s to about 2007. So 12 years he was Bangladesh's number one keeper. So and I, idolized his hard work because I used to train in the same ground. So he was a very hardworking guy.
Yeah, definitely. Known cricketer and done so much for Bangladesh cricket as well.
Yeah.
My number seven, I'll just pick. I mean, I'm picking him because I always enjoyed watching him play. Sabir Rahman,
Off. What a
stylish
character. What a
from
cricketer. Yeah, good call.
yeah,
Good call. So what should I pick now? Number eight, right?
number eight. Yep.
I'm just gonna go for 8, 9, 10, four bowlers. Okay.
Okay, yeah, just pick all at
Just for
once.
the
Yeah.
story, Mohammad Rafiq, because you've also picked Shakib, so I need to pick Rafiq. You should go through my piece on left arm spinners in our Cricinfo's The Cricket Monthly, where I took a deep dive on all Bangladesh's left arm spinners, and Rafiq is an interesting story. he was a fast bowler, and I think one Pakistani cricketer who was playing in the Dhaka League told him just go left arm spin for a while, and he turned into a left arm spinner, and that changed his life. Wonderful, wonderful bowler, wonderful batter as well. Our hero growing up because he was the only one who could hit a six, like towards the end, the big hitter. So yeah, definitely number eight would be Mohammad Rafi.
And you can pick your other three at one go, 9, 10, 11. Who would you pick? And I'll pick mine.
I would go for number nine. Would be there's a cricketer called Jahangir Shah Badshah. Jahangir Shah Badshah is, well, according to a lot of people that have seen him play, and I've also seen him play. He's so they're part of a family where they're all called Shahs. There used to be an umpire called Nadir Shah. Remember? So
I'm
he's
not
Nadir
familiar,
Shah's
no.
elder brother. Nadir Shah has passed away. Badshah uncle is still with us. Badshah uncle was a fast bowler in the early days in the 60s, 70s. He played for East Pakistan, Dhaka University. Then he had a long career. He played through the 70s. Then he made his international debut in the 86 Asia Cup. Very fine outswing bowler, in swing bowler. Was great with cutters as well. Mashrafi rates him highly as well. So I would just to give him some recognition in this sort of lineup that we're doing, and for our listeners, I would say Jahangir Shah Badshah.
Yeah, amazing story. And who would you pick your 10 and 11?
10 and 11. Of course, Mashrafi is someone I want to pick. A wonderful cricketer. He is just the right kind of cricketer that you need out there to back you. I mean, if I was bowling and Mashrafi was the captain or the fielder, I would know that he has got my back. That's the first thing that everyone tells me about him. So number 10 would be Mashrafi, and then number 11 would be Taskin Ahmed. I love fast bowling, even though I was a left-arm spinner. But if you have Mohammad Rafiq in your lineup, you don't need any more spinners. So I would pick Mashrafi, Taskin, definitely number 10 and 11. They might
Yeah,
argue about their batting positions, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
amazing pick. So my choice for 8, 9, 10, 11. As Australian, I have to pick Naid Runner because
Oh,
that's why I'm excited when he comes to Australia. I want him to bowl so
yeah.
that I can tell my white Australian friends, like,
Praying that
look, we
he,
have someone that bowls 150 kilometers an hour. So that's
I'm
exciting.
praying
I'm
that
looking
I'm
forward.
praying that he's fit till that point.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm hoping he's fit as well. That's my number. I mean, he'll probably have to bat 11 to be honest, but I'll also pick Rubel. Rubel, I think, has a lot of memories. He's been there in many big moments for Bangladesh cricket, and I just liked his
True.
tenacity when he's bowling. And I think another person, this is a bit of a left field pick. I'll pick Alamin Hussain. I think he didn't get the
Okay.
respect he deserved, to be honest. I think he's actually achieved quite a bit. He was like one of the top T20 bowlers at one point, and then he sort of faded into obscurity. Like, I know he plays domestic and stuff, but probably played less cricket for Bangladesh cricket than he maybe should have played a bit more. So I have one more. It's a bit hard, but I'll probably pick, yeah, probably Kamrul Islam Rabi maybe. I think
Okay.
good memories of him. So yeah,
Okay.
four paces like an Australian,
Hmm.
but I think because I have Shakib and Mahmudullah in the top seven, I can
Yeah.
probably afford
More than
four
enough. Yeah.
paces. So yeah, I think yeah, we'll let the audience decide who has the better team. But you went with a lot more old school players. I went with more recent players. So I
No
guess
problem.
you can
Yeah.
decide. But yeah, now you've been so generous with your time. Thank you for sharing so many insights about Bangladesh cricket. I don't know if you had any final thoughts you want to share before we wrap up the show.
No, it's great that you're doing this. I've tried to follow you. I think you did Brad Evans, Shane Jurgensen, Cosgrove. Wonderful. And support of the show. Just keep going. And I hope, you find out more interesting stories to tell your audience.
No, I appreciate that support. Thank you so much. And yeah, like would love to have you again. I mean, we can have different conversations about different aspects when it comes to batting, bowling, or the psychological side to and the technical side to cricket. But maybe for another time. But yeah, I appreciate your time, and we'll wrap it up there. So for our listeners, thank you for giving us your attention. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to reach us out on our social media. We're on Instagram, so you can reach out and send us a DM. You can support us on, follow us on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, so you can find our episodes there. So from our special guest, Mohammad Isam, we wish you the best. This is Tanzam signing off. Thank you very much.